So you want to buy a multi-unit property with your VA home loan benefit? You should, because it's awesome. Today we're going to talk about what some of those things to look out for are. Danny Barker is here. What's up, brother? How you doing? Great to see you.
Great to see you too. Thanks for having me.
You've helped a lot of veterans buy multi-unit properties as well. Right?
Yeah. We've definitely gone shopping with a bunch, and I've only been an agent for 2.5 years, and we were able to get my friend Carlos into 3-on-1 in Ontario.
Sweet.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that, you can, even with a conventional loan, you can buy up to 4-unit property, but the VA is so powerful because you don't have a down payment requirement.
Right. And naturally, if you're in a 2, 3, or 4-on-1, the property value and asking price is going to be higher than you've saved up for.
Right.
Right.
And so with the VA, the cool thing is you can also use some of that rental income if you have units with rents to help offset. So let's just kind of start from the very beginning with this, because a lot of people, when I do my monthly online VA home loan seminar, which I do just through Zoom and Eventbrite, very simple stuff. I did one last week. We had 6 people on there. It's not a huge event, but
nice.
I drop knowledge on that thing.
Right.
I've got it really dialed in. And everyone gets excited about multi-units. They want to know, like, oh, hey, this is the direction I want to go. And for good reason.
Right.
It's really taking the benefit that is the VA home loan benefit and really using it to its fullest.
Right, and that's really what it is for me, I said, what's the highest and best use of the VA loan? And it's the 4-on-1. It has to be. Because if you have 4 like units, which doesn't always happen, 3 of those are paying you rent, which means that you could have those people paying some, most, or all of your liability per month, which is your mortgage.
Yeah.
And then your owed amount is coming down, so these people are helping you pay down this mortgage, right? And the value over time is going up. You own this thing for 20 years, in Southern California especially, you're gonna make money on equity.
That's right.
So you're making money twice. So the scary part is the price tag. I don't know how to be a landlord.
Yeah.
I'm scared. What if somebody's a bad tenant? What if they don't make their payment and I can't pay that part of it, right? So these are the things that we'll get into.
Yeah, and I think those are all things that are worth considering. They're all normal, things to think about. I have one of my buddies who he bought a 2-unit and then he made a 3rd unit onto it.
Smart.
The unit that he lives in, the other 2 pay for the whole mortgage.
Right.
So he's set.
Right.
I mean, set.
Right.
He's got a good job, he's got VA disability check, and he's got other people paying for his housing.
Right.
And it's just one. I'm not talking about he went out and bought 10 different ones and spent, years accumulating. Just one. Just one
purchase, and now he has 3 doors.
He's got 3 doors.
So how many doors do you own personally?
That's a good question. I actually don't even know.
For me, I own 1.
You own 1 door?
The one I live in, right?
And that's enough.
And I would like to change that. I've bought and sold 6 before,
yeah.
But now here I am, with all of this experience behind me, and I still only own the 1 door. So for me, my next use of a VA loan is definitely going to be a 2, 3, or 4-on-1.
Yeah, if you can find. And the other thing is just, can you find them?
Right.
And I think looking at units is good, and there's different ways to invest in real estate too, which I should talk about more often, especially from a commercial standpoint, which I have a lot of money in commercial real estate. It's a little bit different concept. We don't really think about it in doors standpoint, but maybe we should, or maybe there should be some sort of correlation.
Sure.
But when you look at and this is still considered residential, even though we're talking about multi-unit, anything that's 4 units or under is considered residential real estate.
Right.
If you go residential, or if you go housing that's above 5 units or more, now it's called commercial. And so the fact that you can go all the way up to that limit with your VA home loan benefit is amazing. But as you mentioned, it doesn't have to be 4 units. It could be 3 units. It could be 2 units.
Right.
I'm from Missouri.
Like your friend.
Yeah. He was a 2-unit. I'm from Missouri, and back home, that's what everybody does. Everyone buys a duplex first.
Nice.
They live in one side, and they
Right.
rent the other side out, and it almost makes the whole payment for them. Not quite, but they're paying $200-300 a month. And then as soon as they can, they buy another one.
Yeah.
And they rent that unit out, and then they rent the other unit out on that one. And by that time, those 3 tenants are paying for both mortgages.
Absolutely.
And that's the formula that I grew up understanding. And we came here to San Diego in 2005, early 2005. There really aren't duplexes here. There's some. There's 2 units.
They're around.
Yeah.
But if you go through the neighborhood and see, oh, honey, look, these are duplexes, right? You're actually seeing single-family residences that share a wall with a neighbor, and they're sold individually. So there was a time in the history of San Diego where it was popular to build duplexes.
Gotcha.
But they sold them separately instead of together. And it might be the difference of the economy in Missouri, where
Yeah.
you can afford 2 doors at one shot, and the economy here, where you may be priced out, so maybe there's not a market for it.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not sure why it's the case, but there's plenty of duplexes back home. There still is, but people caught on to it. Like I said, the group that I grew up with, that was their thing. Everybody was just buying duplexes.
Right.
And so here it's a little more difficult, and you kind of got to be prepared for that. There's also opportunities. I have other people who have purchased a home, veteran buyers using the VA loan, bought a home a couple years ago. Now it's worth $300,000 more than it was back then. They're going in, taking cash out, using the VA cash out refinance, and building ADUs or building multiple ADUs.
Yeah, which, by the way, call Derek if you need a VA cash out, because right now is one of the very small opportunities to go 100% loan to value. It's only been available back in 05, 06, 07, and then it went away for 10 or 15 years. So it might not be around forever.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, it's totally possible. Things can change in the lending space, no question, but you can definitely do 100% VA cash out right now.
Today, yes.
Today, it can be done. You can access all of your equity. And if you have a disability rating, you don't pay a VA funding fee. That's a huge benefit when you're doing a cash out, because the cash out funding fee is higher. It's the highest one.
Right.
So we always take a look at that and make sure, what is my cost for capital?
I'm so glad that I didn't learn that until after I got out of the Navy. Because did I pay a 3.6% funding fee? Yes, I did.
You did cash out refi?
Absolutely, yeah. I didn't know,
Yeah.
right? There was one time when I became aware of it when I bought our house in North Carolina, that I knew if I put 5% down, the VA funding fee goes, at that time it was 3.3% to 1.6.
Yeah.
So now if you do that, it's 1.65 for you active duty or non-disabled guys out there.
Yeah.
But for me to buy $1 million home, zero money down, $6,000 in closing costs, was incredible, especially when it says you owe exactly what you bought this house for, because there was no funding fee because you're disabled. That was incredible.
Yeah. Well, it takes, when I do my presentation, we talk about the one con to the VA loan is the VA funding fee. That's it. There's the one thing that anyone can point at and say, hey, this isn't a good thing. But you have to realize that's what funds the whole program.
That's right.
That's what allows everyone to be able to use it. So if you have to pay a funding fee, just know that's how they make this possible.
Well, FHA has a funding fee.
Right.
And they have PMI.
Right.
Right? And then conventional loans, if you're putting down less than 20%, you have PMI.
Correct.
Right? And sometimes there's funding fees in conventional lending too. So the idea of, or I guess it would be origination fees for conventional.
Right.
But the idea of something for nothing actually does exist inside of a person that is eligible for VA and is also rated for disability.
Yeah, any disability rating at all, by the way. A lot of people think it has to be 100% or it has to be this or that. No, just any rating at all, you don't have to pay the funding fee.
What about rated at 0?
I've never seen that.
Never seen it?
Nope.
Okay. Some of the old timers, like the guys that served back in Vietnam and stuff, they did their disability claims decades after they had gotten out, so they didn't have the proper amount of evidence to get a rating number to it, but they were presenting enough evidence that it was definitely service related, so they're rated at 0.
Huh.
So
all you have to do
a
is
homework question, I think.
Yeah, you pull the COE, the certificate of eligibility, and
Sure.
they'll tell you right on there, whether you have to pay a funding fee or not.
Okay.
And so that's usually how you validate it. In my experience, if you have a disability rating of any kind, some people have very light ratings. They're getting $140 a month or something like that.
Sure, like a 10% rating.
No
yeah.
funding fee.
Okay.
So that is my experience. I have not seen that, but I know this. A lot of Vietnam veterans out there, and if you're one of them, deserve to be getting paid for disability rating and have not gone through the paperwork, didn't want to deal with the military anymore, didn't want to deal with the government anymore. There's actually a company that I know I can refer you to who will do the legwork for you on this, who will deal with all the BS, and they don't take any payment until after you get your lump sum and you get your rating. So if you're in that boat, let me know and we'll help get you to shore. So the rating is obviously very helpful. The VA loan is the most powerful loan out there, no question, especially when we're talking about multi-unit properties like this.
Oh yeah.
Some people have asked me, and I want you to get your opinion on this, should I start off buying a multi-unit? Should I begin, there, or should I go ahead and buy a house first, just a single, something that's simpler, that's more accessible, that's easier for me to understand, and then kind of graduate myself into a multi-unit scenario?
Okay, so To answer this question, I think it has to be multi-layered in the sense that, yes, you should start off buying a 4-unit property if you can qualify for it today. The second part of that is please hire a property manager so that you can learn how professionals rent properties out to other people, how they behave with them, and keep them on for a couple of years is my opinion, because every year they'll do a new lease, they'll do a new rate for the rent, and it'll keep you and your property performing well. The other reason why I would say yes, start with a 4-on-1 is because naturally 4-on-1s are more expensive. So if you were to own it for a short period of time, and in that market that you were going to buy the 4-on-1 here and the single unit there, the 4-on-1 is going to grow in value faster and give you more to leverage to go buy more doors. And that's for a person who's going to collect doors, right? For me and my wife, we bought a 1-bedroom condo, then a 2-bedroom condo, then a 3-bedroom house, then a 4-bedroom house, then a 4-bedroom house, then a 4-bedroom house, right? So at a certain point, we were satiated at 4 bedrooms.
Yeah.
Right. If that's not you, and you're going to leverage one door for another door for another door for another door, the idea there is you're not collecting doors or building a portfolio. You're literally just owning your liability, right? And we can get into the liability asset talk all for days.
Right.
But when you buy one door, it's a liability that you're living in. When you buy the 4 doors, you have an asset and you're living in it.
Yeah, it's huge.
There's a lot of other benefits to it.
Huge benefits to that. We talk about collecting rent. You're the one who's technically paying the interest and writing that off as an expense. You're the one who's writing off every expense associated with the property. There's lots of really, really big benefits. And I agree with you on that. My opinion on it is you go ahead and you buy, you want to get your forever home at the end of the trail, if you can.
I finally got it.
So, you go and you get the stuff that you want to accumulate and eventually rent out. You get that stuff first.
For sure.
You rough it a little bit, maybe while kids are younger, you don't have kids yet, or, you're in that period where you can say, you know what, I'm going to buy in this neighborhood because I know this neighborhood is going to do really, really well 10 years from now. Right now, maybe it's not the best. Maybe it doesn't have a great school district, but I've gone down to the city. I've talked to them. The 15-year plan is amazing. That's the kind of thing you do first. Don't try to do that later. Do that early. And then eventually get to the point where you land on your dream home. Speaking of, so that we both agree that we should be looking at multi-units.
Okay.
Let's get in the trenches real quick. I think that's something people will be interested in understanding. It's like, okay, so I'm a VA buyer. I'm looking at multi-unit properties. This is a tough market.
Right.
I'm immediately discouraged by the fact that I know that it's a tough market. Who am I up against? How do I compete here and win?
So I think that anybody who's shopping for a 2, 3, or a 4-on-1 is by definition savvy in real estate. They're probably sophisticated. They probably have a lot in the bank, or they have a stock portfolio or a real estate portfolio that is very impressive. All of these things are given to evidence to the listing agent to sell your competition as a better buyer than you, right? So what we have to lean on, and what I did lean on, was this is a veteran. He has this entitlement, not benefit. He has this entitlement that he's going to use. And by the way, do you know how the VA works with a 2, 3, or 4-on-1 to the listing agent? And he divulged he didn't. So I spent an hour and a half on the phone with him, explaining to him why a VA offer is actually stronger than this savvy, sophisticated person. Because one, we're going to go in and we're going to do inspections and make sure that health and safety is covered, and we're not going to ask for anything extra, right? Then we're going to go against this guy who's sophisticated. What does this guy wake up wanting to do, right? I met an investor one day. His name is Joseph, and this Joseph fella called me one day and had me pay for something that was supposed to be his closing costs. And when I later met with him, I said, hey, remember I paid for that thing? And we were just joking. And he said, oh yeah, that was my $1,000 win that day. And I said, what? And he said, every day I wake up, I have to win $1,000. So do you want to get into escrow with that guy? Or do you want to get into escrow with somebody who's looking for a home for their family that would like to have extra doors and have an asset instead of a liability?
Yeah, it's a huge opportunity for a seller to be able to give to a veteran. And I've seen it happen with my own 2 eyes multiple times where people, it's life-changing. They're able to get into these properties, they're able to set themselves up in a way that's literally they could be set for life
Right.
just by this one, piece of grace.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Carrie. So, I think that for sellers out there, yes, the investor offer, the guy with a bunch of money in the bank, it may look like a great offer, but you're right, that guy is much more likely to pick you apart. He's much more likely to have other options to choose from.
For sure.
Whereas our VA buyer, if you give them the opportunity, they'll do everything they can to get to the finish line.
Absolutely. In the one that Oscar had bought, we caught it just in time. The listing agent and the team of investors that did the renovation to the property had placed 2 tenants in the other 2 doors. His is a 3-on-1. And that was great because we were able to use those leases as income for your part of the job. And on that 3rd door, they were about to place a tenant. And I called the listing agent and I said, hey, if you're at all considering my offer, right? I understand if you're not, but if you're at all considering my offer, you will not place that 3rd door. I need it.
That's right.
The member has to live in it.
You got to occupy.
Right. So that's something that really, if you take 30 residential income listings in San Diego right now, right? If you take 30 of those, how many of those have a door that's available for the member to live in, for the buyer to live in, right? It's not normal. So you're already going off of the 6 or 7 that have vacancy. And then from those 6 or 7, now we have to go sell those listing agents on you,
right,
on why they should sell to the veteran with the VA loan. And my whole story that I pitch to the listing agents is the money at the end of the day is the exact dollar amount that we agreed to, right? So, and as the contract changes, then the money's the money. Where
That's
it
right.
comes from shouldn't really matter to the seller outside of how comfortable or uncomfortable are we going to be for the next 30 to 45 days. So that's where having a strong lender like yourself involved actually helps us get other offers accepted, because the more we can get these investor types that are selling these 2, 3, and 4-on-1s to trust our process of getting the veterans as buyers, the more acceptable our offers are going to become. So really, we got to put the work in.
Yeah, we got to put the work in. You've got to make contact. You've got to let people know your experience with it. That definitely helps, and it also helps to have a committed team. Again, so you can coach a buyer to be a committed buyer. And if these opportunities are there, if you have the opportunity to get a multi-unit, man, definitely take it. Take it. There's a lot of people searching for it out there, and we'd love to help you find that opportunity for yourself and your family. Danny Barker, thank you so much for coming in. It's great to see you.
Thanks for having me,
Great
Derek.
to have you here. Hey, share this with your friends. Let's help make them smarter than everyone else.